Hello. Today I would like to talk about a look at gamification experience by age group, reflecting on the elements of gamification facing life from the beginning of life. It is prepared specifically for gamification talks. In a simple terms, gamification is about using elements from games like badges, rewards, progress, and curiosity to motivate people in real life. But gamification, in my perspective, is not about adding just points or badges. It's about how games themselves shape the way we learn, connect, and grow throughout life. So instead of giving you a purely academic lecture, I'd like to approach this topic through my personal journey, how games have shaped my learning, focus, social skills, and even my career. The presentation is structured into 7 short chapters, plus introduction about myself and final reflection. In each chapter, I share a personal story, sometimes my own, sometimes my son's, showing how gamification naturally appears at different stages of life. And whenever possible, I'll connect this experience to scientific research that supports what many of us intuitively feel, that games can help us grow, learn, and connect with others. So let's begin, not with the theory, but with curiosity. Okay, I moved my cam. So just a small introduction. My name is Timur Galliamov. I'm working as a director at Speaker1 at current moment. And from the very beginning, I graduated with mechanical engineering technology. Basically, I learned how to plan and organize every step of production process so that complex system works smoothly. While studying, I also worked as a part-time sales consultant, where I learned the 5 stages of a good sale and how to communicate with the clients. Skills that surprisingly later helped me a lot in gaming production and publishing. After the university, I worked as a mechanical engineer, but stay active in gaming communities. And then in 2011, I was unexpectedly invited to become a producer for online game called Online. That invitation completely changed my career path. I handled almost everything. Prepared the game for public reviews, collecting players' feedback, managing quality assurance, solving live service issues, and trying to keep balance between creativity and business goals. That's when I started to see games not just as an entertainment, but as a living system, things that connect people, technology, and emotion. Later, I joined the team behind the Black Desert Online, a huge MMO created by Perlamos. I was building communities across Russia and seas, and I was even invited to South Korea to discuss improvements to the game based on the players' feedback. When the project ended, the license ended, I moved to supergg.com, formerly super.com, a PC and console publisher, first as a producer, then as a publishing director, and later as a director of the company. During that time, I was working on several releases. The first game I was released under my control was Raji and Ancient Epic, created by Indian studio. Later on, when I was a publishing director, we released Deadlink and many others, like Deflector, Retro Machina, Alchemist Adventure. Looking back, I have always seen myself as an entertainer, someone who brings people joy, emotions, and a little escape from daily life. The game industry for me is something deeply human, a way for people to disconnect from stress and step into beautiful, imaginative worlds that remind us why creativity matters. So let's move on. My early years, curiosity and play. When I'm thinking about what built my character, I'm reminding myself my early years. The games were not just entertainment, they were my teachers. How they teach? First of all, I had an old and expensive Windows 95 PC, and every new game I wanted to play became a small technical challenge. If a game didn't run, I had to figure out why. Railing, styling, tweaking settings, editing files, all before I truly understood what I was doing. What started as simple curiosity turned into a habit of problem solving. My only goal was to play the next game, but the progress taught me persistence, logic, and creativity exploration. Later, I realized this is motivation. Learning driving by interest itself, not by grades or external rewards. Meta-analysis backed this up. We see a small but reliable positive effect of gamification on cognitive, motivational, and behavioral outcomes, especially when design matches the learner's context. That reported by Seller Homner and confirmed in Lee and Shi article. These findings help me frame my story. Curiosity plus play creates a natural path to learning. Next step from curiosity to competence was Diablo First, the first game I ever completed from start to finish. It demanded not only patience, but also strategic focus and constant adaptation to new challenges. It was a lesson in patience and concentration. The design was simple back to those times, yet incredibly demanding. You descend by floor into a dungeon. Each level filed the stronger monsters and new combat tactics. You had to clear every room, manage potions, scrolls, skill points, and weapons. Every mistake can send you back to the start. This structure trained the focus without me realizing it. I had to observe, plan, and adapt constantly. When to heal, when to retreat, how to distribute stats. At school, I couldn't sit still. Teachers called me hyperactive. But Diablo quietly taught me persistence, repeat, learn, improve. That mindset later shaped how I approach real-life challenges, study, teamwork, even business decisions. Later, I noticed a shift. I stopped reacting to teachers with a protest and instead began to see problems like a quest tasks in a game. If a math question didn't fit the textbook method, I used to argue. Now I saw the objective. Solve it, meet the conditions, move on. Research by Green and Bavelier, these ones, shows that action video games enhance visual selective attention and decision speed. Players became better at filtering information and focusing on what truly matters. In case Diablo turned curiosity into competence, it transformed distraction into focus. Later, online worlds and social laboratories. Later, I found myself drawing into the world of MMORPGs, especially Ragnarok Online. These games demanded far more than individual effort. Constant leveling, teamwork, coordination, and communication. My guild in Ragnarok had only 30 members of different ages. We met online as equals, took on raids, and built our own small community. Socializing in this environment changed me. I became more comfortable talking to new people, organizing tasks, and sharing goals. When I entered university, I naturally became an active student representative. I helped mediate between students and professors, resolving conflict that others found intimidating. I realized that what had once been guild management was in fact a social leadership in action. After university and military service, I returned to work as a mechanical engineer. But during my free time, I began playing Online. There, I once became a guild leader and eventually one of the national leaders among 5 competing nations based on the game design of that game. My responsibilities extended beyond managing 30 players. I was coordinating several guilds, negotiating with opponents, and managing large-scale conflict and alliances. Over time, I started working closely with the game's administration team, publishing team, helping them handle player feedback and community issues. In 2011, as I already said, they invited me to join as a producer of Online, transforming what began as a hobby into my professional path in the games industry. Research into the relation between MMORPG gameplay and social capital supports this experience. From massively multiplayer online games and social capital, finds that MMOs can help players build social capital, develop leadership, and strengthen real-life social links, and that many of these skills transferred into offline environment. Of course, they cannot be also downside. Excessive time investment can negatively affect real lifetime balance. But when approached, it becomes a powerful form of experimental learning. Looking back, Ragnarok Online and Online were my real-world social laboratories, places where I learned coordination, leadership, persistence, and communication. And that journey is what eventually brought me into the game industry itself. Let me move my camera a bit. Yeah, I forgot that I need that. So the next slide, I will put it here, is strategy and system thinking. I apologize. Among the many other genres, I explored from my childhood strategy games. They stood out, titles such as Age of Empires, Sid Meier's Civilization, and range of simulators like SimCity. What I wanted to highlight here is that the game design of these titles involved building complex systems and interconnected layers, resource gathering, army construction, management, and strategic planning. Here I place the pictures from different parts of civilization, all of them I played. Beyond other games, historical strategy games offered an immersive history lesson, far more engaging and intuitive than traditional school or university teaching. It wasn't just matching dates with the text and images. It was a full immersion into historical events, understanding rulers, their decisions and advantages. Repeatedly playing the same civilization over time, I found myself digging into the internet and reading more detailed history. But that reading was filtered through my gameplay. I already lived the era and people I studied. Research, both of them, support this. For example, a systematic review shows that games designed for history teaching help learners build historical thinking, understand path environments and social structure through immersive play. This one is Mehmet Huran and Ahmet Dazuglu, 10 Games in History Education. Moreover, commercial strategy games are increasingly recognized as a tool that enhances interest and understanding in history education that is passed on the platform Euroclio 2020 by Celia Biaggi. Can video games improve history education? In short, strategy games didn't just entertain me. They taught me how to think historically, how to link cause and effect, and how to build systems in my mind that later helped me in real-life planning and leadership. The perfect position of the camera now. And one of the most powerful examples of immersion I've experienced comes from the Witcher universe. I first discovered it back in late 90s when a short Polish TV adaptation was shown. But it was years later, after finishing The Witcher 2, that I felt truly pulled into the world. Moreover, it was my first Witcher series. I mean, I passed everything and wasn't so excited about this universe, but the game didn't just entertain me, it motivated me to read all Andrzej Sapkowski's book, again, the author of The Witcher, to rewatch the whole TV series, and then to play the first Witcher, the game from the very beginning that I missed before. When The Witcher 3 came out, it was more than just another RPG for me. It felt like coming home, meeting characters I already knew and cared about. Now I continue the journey with a Netflix adaptation. What fascinates me is how games can extend and amplify an existing history, universe, and literally. Research in narrative and media studies show that video games act as transmedia extensions. They allow players not to just consume a story, but live inside it. Marie-Laure Ryan described that as narrative immersion, when interaction deepens emotional engagement. Henry Jenkins calls it transmedia storytelling, where each medium adds something unique to the overall world. In my view, games today are one of the most powerful ways of rediscover literature and films to experience human values in new interactive ways. So let's start with my sons, and I move camera here. My son started with Roblox simply as a player, making challenges there, playing kids' fashion games, you know them, exploring, etc., etc. But soon he became curious about how the worlds themselves were made. And you know that Roblox is a combination of different small games that can be created by users. It's user-generated content. So he asked us to let him study Roblox Studio, learning how to script, how to physics and logic work, how to design experience for others. I often help him discuss what makes a game enjoyable and how each setting changed players' behavior. This is a completely different kind of education. It is learning by doing, learning through creation. It's no longer passive consumption, but experimental learning that fosters curiosity and confidence. Research supports this. In 2021 study by Sanchen from Frontiers, posted on Frontiers and Psychology, found that experimental education using virtual reality significantly improved self-efficacy. And that self-efficacy in turns boosts learning motivation. In the same way, the platforms like Roblox empower a new generation to become not just players, but creators, developing both technical and soft skills through playful experimentation. Once again, it's important to know that many professionals currently in Roblox trying to build their own games, so it is very hard for children to compete with these professionals. But the desire to, the motivation to create is very important here. So let's move further. I will close that, and you can find this slide directly in the scientific research I shared. So, but as you can see on my face, I don't have personal experience with our older age, but research clearly shows that gamification and digital play can have positive effect for older adults too. First, Regular gaming in older people is linked to a lower risk of dementia and better overall brain health. Second, interactive games can improve memory, focus, and the ability to think and to navigate in space, which proves that play is not only for the young. Of course, like any kind of simulation, it needs balance. Too much screen time or very intense gaming can cause tiredness instead of benefits. The main idea is simple. When used wisely, gamification helps keep the brain active and flexible at any age. Number 5. Reflection and closing thoughts. When we look at gamification across life, we see more than just a design tool. We see a reflection of how people grow. So let me highlight 3 key reflections that can be exported from the previous chapters that we talked and summarize the idea. So gamification involves with us. Games teach curiosity, focus, empathy, and leadership. They build bridges between generations and even help preserve cognitive health in old age. Play connects generations. Games unite children, adults, and seniors through shared creativity and purpose. And you know that when you want to talk with your child, you have to be on the same page to share interests. And current ages requires children to be involved in the different communities, games, Roblox, Minecraft, and all of that. But we need to figure out that balance defines its value. Everything meaningful, gamification works best in balance. It should inspire us to learn and connect, not just to escape from real life. And in the end, the lesson is simple. Play with a purpose. Learn through experience. And remember, life itself is the ultimate game. Thanks for watching and listening, and goodbye.